The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Chapter 4. The sun rose upon a drunken world and beamed down upon the peaceful village like a benediction. Breakfast hour. Aunt Polly had family worship. It began with a prayer built from the ground up of solid course of scriptural quotations, welded together with a thin mortar of originality, and from the summit of this she delivered a grim chapter of the most mosaical law as from Sinai. Then Tom girded up his loins, so to speak, and went to work to get his verse. Sid had learned his lesson days before. Tom bent all his energies to the memorizing of 5 verses, and he chose part of the Sermon on the Mount because he could find no verse that were shorter. At the end of half an hour, Tom had a vague general idea of his lesson, but no more, for his mind was traversing the whole field of human thought, and his hands were busy with distracting migrations. Mary took his book to hear him recite, and he tried to find his way through the fog. Blessed are the A.A. poor. Yes, poor, blessed are the poor A.A. in spirit. In spirit, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs. For theirs, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they sh. For they are S-H-A, for they S-H-O. I don't know what is this. Shall. Oh, shall. For they shall. A shall mourn. A. Blessed are they that shall. They that are they that shall mourn, for they shall what? Why don't you tell me, Mary? What do you want to me so mean for? Oh, Tom, you poor thickhead thing, I'm not teasing you. I would that you must go and learn it again. Don't you be discouraged, Tom. You'll manage it. And if you do, I'll give you something ever so nice. There now, that's a good boy. Alright, what is it? Mary, tell me what is it? Never you mind, Tom. You know if I say it's nice, it is nice. You bet you that's so, Mary. Alright, you'll tackle it again. And he did tackle it again, and under the double pressure of curiosity and prospective gain he did it with such spirit that he accomplished a shining success. Mary gave him a brand new barlow knife worth 12.5 cents, and a convulsion of delight that swept his system shook him to his foundations. True, the knife would not cut anything, but it was a search enough barlow, and there was inconceivable grandeur in that. Though where the Western boys ever got the idea that such a weapon could possibly be converted to its injury is an imposing mystery, and will always remain so. Perhaps Tom contrived to scarify the cupboard with it, and was arranging to begin on the grill when he was called off to dress for Sunday school. Mary gave him a tin basin of water and piece of soap, and he went outside the door and set the basin on a little bench there. Then he dipped the soap in the water and laid it down, turned up his sleeves, poured out the water on the ground gently, and then entered the kitchen and began to wipe his face diligently on the towel behind the door. But Mary removed the towel and said, "Now ain't you Ashmat, Tom? You must be so bad. Water won't hurt you." Tom was a trifle disconcerted. The basin was refilled, and his time he stood over it a little while, gathering resolutions, took in a big breath, and began. When he entered the kitchen presently, with both eyes shut and groping for the towel, with his hands, an honorable testimony of suds and water was dripping from his face. But when emerged from the tower, he was not yet satisfactory, for the clean territory stopped short at his chin and his jaws, like a mask. Below and beyond this line there was a dark expanse of unirrigated soil that spread downward, in front and backward, around his neck. Mary took him in her hand, and when she was done with him, he was a man and a brother, without distinction of color, and his saturated hair was neatly brushed, and its short curl rolled into a dainty and symmetrical general effect. He privately smoothed out the curls with labor and difficulty, and plastered his hair close down for his head, for the head's curls to be effeminate, and his own filled his life with bitterness. Did Mary go out a suit of his clothing that had been used only on Sundays during 2 years. They were simply called his other clothes, and so by that we know the side of his wardrobe. The girl put him to rights. After he had dressed himself, she buttoned his net round about up to his chin, turned his basher collar down over his shoulder bruised chin off, and crowned him with his speckled straw hat. He now looking exceedingly improved and uncomfortable. He was fully as cleanness that called him. He hoped that Mary would forget his shoes, but the hope was blighted. She could attend troublingly with Taylor, and was accustomed and broken out. He lost his temper and said he was always being made to do everything he didn't want to do. But Mary said persuasively, "Please, Tom, that's a good boy." So he got into the shoes snarling. Mary was soon ready, and the three children set out for Sunday school, a place that Tom hated with his whole heart, but Sid and Mary were fond of it. Sabbath school's hours were from 9 to 10:30, and the church service. Two of children's always remained for the sermon voluntarily, and the other always remained to for stranger reasons. The church had high-backed, uncushioned pews would seat about 300 persons. The edifice was but a small, plain affair, with a sort of pine-board tree box on top of it for the steeple. At the door, Tom dropped back and as Steve accosted a Sunday-dressed comrade. "Say, Billy, got a dollar ticket?" "Yes." "What what'd you take for it?" "What'd you give?" "Piece of licorice and fish hook." "Let's see 'em." Tom exhibited. They were satisfactory, and the property changed hands. Then Tom traded a couple of white Alice for 3 red tickets and some small rifle of other for a couple blue ones. He waylaid other boys as they came, and went off buying tickets of various colors. Then of 15 minutes longer he entered the church now with a swarm of clean of nicey boys and girls, proceeded to his seat and started a quarrel with the first boy to come handy. The teacher, a grave, elderly man, interfered that turned his back a moment to Tom Pollett. A boy heard in the next bench, and was absorbed in his book when the boy turned around, stuck a pin in another boy, presently, in order to hear him say "ouch," and got a new reprimand from his teacher. Tom's whole class were of a pattern, relentless, noisy, and troublesome. When they came to recite their lessons, not one of them knew his verse perfectly, but had to be prompted all along. However, they were through, and each got his reward in small blue tickets, each with a passage of scripture on it. Each blue ticket was paid for 2 verses of the recitation. 10 blue tickets equaled a red one and could be exchanged for it. 10 red tickets equaled a yellow one. For 10 yellow tickets, the superintendent gave a very plainly bound Bible, worth 40 cents in 2 easy tokens, to the pupil. How
Many of my readers would have the industrial and applications to memorize 2,000 verses, even for adore Bible, and yet Mary had adhered to Bibles in this way. It was the patient work of 2 years, and a boy, a Herman parentage, had won 4 of 5. He owns recited 3,000 bars without stopping, but the strain upon his mental faculties was too great, and he was little better than an idiot from that day forth, a grievous misfortune for the school, for on great occasions, before company, the superintendent, as Tom expressed it, had always made this boy come out and express himself. Only the older pupils managed to keep their tickets and stick to their tedious work long enough to get a Bible, and so the library of one of these prizes was a rare and noteworthy circumstance. The successful pupil was so great and conspicuous for that day that on the spot very scholar's hair was far with a fresh ambitions that often lasted a couple of weeks. It is possible that Tom's mental stomach had never really hungered for one of those prizes, but unquestionably this entire being had for many a day lunch, for the glory and the eclat that came with it. In due course the superintendent stood up in front of the pulpit, with a closed hymn book in his hand, and his forefinger is inserted between its leaves, and commands attention when a Sunday school superintendent makes his customary little speech. A hymn book in the hand is as necessary as is the inevitable set of music in the hat of a singer who stands forward on the platform and sings a soul at a concert though with why is a mystery, for neither the hymn book nor the set of music is ever referred to by the sufferer. The superintendent was a slim creature of 35, with a sandy goatee and short sandy hair. He wore a stiff standing collar whose upper edge almost reached his ears and whose sharp points curved forward averaged the corners of his mouth, a fence that completed a strike, looked a hit, and a turning of the whole body when a side by view was required. His chin was propped on a spreading cravat which was as broad and as long as a bank note, and had fingered ends. His boot toes were turned sharply up in the fashion of the day, like slate runners, an effect patiently and laboriously produced by the young men by sitting with their toes pressed against a wall for hours together. Mr. Walters was very earnest of mind and very sincere and honest and at heart, and he held sacred things and pleased in sure reverence, and so separate them from worldly matters that unconsciously to himself his Sunday school body had acquired a peculiar intonation which was wholly absent on weekdays. He began after this fashion. Now, children, I want you all the alto should sit up just as straight and pretty as you can and give me all your attention for a minute or two. There, that is it. That is the why good little boys and girls should do. I see one little girl who is looking out of the window. I am afraid she thinks I am out there somewhere, perhaps up in one of the trees making a speech to the little birds. Applause tighter. I want to tell you how good it makes me feel to see so many bright, clean little faces assembled in a place like this, learning to do right and be good, and so forth and so on. It is not necessary to sit down the rest of the orations. It was of a pattern which does not vary, and so it is familiar to us all. The latter tier of the space was marked by the resumption of fights and other alterations among certain of the bad boys, and by feet getting and whispering that extend far and wide, washing even to the baths of isolate and incorruptible thoughts like Sid and Mary. But now every sound says suddenly, With the subsidence of Mr. Walter's voice, and the conclusion of the space was received with a burst of silent gratitude. A good part of the whispering had been occasioned by an event which was more or less rare, the entrance of visitors Lager touched there, accompanied by a very feeble aged man, a fine, partly middle-aged gentleman with iron grey hair, and a dignified lady who was doubtless the leader's wife. The lady was leading a child. Tom had been restless and full of chafings and repugnance, conscience smashing to be could not meet Emmy Lawrence's age. He could not brood her loving gaze, but when he saw this small newcomer his soul was all ablaze with bliss in a moment. The next moment he was showing off with all his might, thin voice, pulling her melting face. In a word, using every art that seemed likely to fascinate a girl and win her applause. His exaltation had but one allow the memory of his humiliation in this angel's garden, and that later in sun was fast washing out under the waves of happiness that were spinning over it now. The visitors were given the highest, highest set of honor, and as soon as Mr. Walter's speech was finished, he introduced them to the school. The middle-aged man turned out to be a prodigious personage, no less a one than the county judge altogether, the most august creation these children had ever looked upon, and they wondered what kind of material he was made of, and they half wanted to hear him roar, and were half afraid he might, too. He was from Constantinople, 12 miles away, so he had travelled and seen the world. These very ages had looked upon the county tower house, which was said to have a tin roof. The awe which this reflection inspired was attested by the impossible silence and the glance of staring ages. This was the great Judge Dodger, brother of their own lawyer. Jeff Dodger immediately went forward to be familiar with the great man and be invited by the school. It would have been music to his soul to hear the whisperings. Look at him, Jean. He's a-going up there. Say, look, he's a-going to shake hands with him. He is shaking hands with him. By Jeans, don't you wish you was Jeff? Mr. Walters fell to showing off with all sorts of official lines and activities, giving orders, delivering judgments, discharging directions here, there, everywhere that he could find a target. The librarian showed up of running hither and thither with his arms full of boots and making a deal of the splutter and fuss that insect authority delights in. The young lady teachers showed off, bending swell-like over pupils that were lately being boxed, lifting pretty warning fingers at bad little boys and patting good ones lovingly. The young gentlemen teachers showed off with small scoldings and other lively displays of authority and fine attention to discipline, and most of the teachers of both sexes found business up at the library by the pulpit, and it was business that frequently had to be done over again 2 or 3 times, with much seeming vexation. The little girls showed off in various ways, and the little boys showed off with such diligence that the air was dead with papers, words, and the murmur of scufflings, and above it all the great man sat and beamed a majestic judicial smile upon all the house, and garmented himself in the sun of his own grandeur, for he was showing off too, where there was only one thing wanting to make Mr. Walters' ecstasy complete, and that was a chance to deliver a Bible pride and exhibit a prodigy. Several pupils had a few yellow tickets, but none had enough. He had been around among the star pupils, including he would have given words now to have that German like bat again with a sun mint. And now, at this moment, when hope was dead, Don Sawyer came forward with 9 yellow tickets, 9 red tickets, and 10 blue ones, and demanded a Bible. This was a thunderbolt out of a clear sky. Walters was not expecting an application from this source for the next 10 years, but there was no getting around it. Here were the certificates, and they were good for their face. Tom was therefore elevated to a place with the judge and the other elect, and the great news was announced from headquarters. It was the most astounding surprise of the decade, and so profound was the sensation that it lifted the new hair up to the judicial one's attitude, and the school had two marbles to gaze upon in place of the one. The boys were all eaten up with envy, but those that suffered the bitterest pangs were those who perceived too late that they themselves had contributed to this hate splendor by trading tickets to Tom for the wealth he had amassed in selling whitewashing privileges. They despised themselves as being the dupes of a willful snake in the grass. The prize was delivered to Tom with as much effusion as the superintendent could put up under the circumstances, but it lacked somewhat of the true gush, for the poor belonged instinct, doubting that there was a mystery here that could not well bear the light. Perhaps it was simple preposterous that this boy had warehoused 2,000 Chavez of structural wisdom on his premise. A dozen would strain his capacity without a doubt. Emmy Lawrence was proud and glad, and she tried to make Tom see it in her face, but he wouldn't look. She wondered then she was just a grain trouble. Next a dim suspicion came and went, came again. She watched, a furtive glance through her words, and then her heart broke, and she was hideous and angry, and the tears ran, and she hated everybody. Thomas of all. She thought Tom was introduced to the judge, but his tongue was tight, his breath would hardly come, his hair twittered, partly because of the awful wetness of the man, but mainly because he was her parent. He would have liked to fall down and worship him, if it were in the dark. The judge put his hand on Tom's head and called him a fine little man, and asked him what his name was. The boy stammered, gasped, and got it out. Tom! Oh, no, not Tom, it is. Thomas! Ah, that's it. I thought there was more to it, maybe. That's very well. Put you another one dare I say, and you'll tell it to me, won't you? Tell the gentleman your other name, Thomas, said Walters. And say, sir, you mustn't forget your manners. Thomas Sawyer, sir. That's it. That's a good boy. Fine boy. Fine manly lively fellow. 2,000 bars is a great many. Very great many. And you never can be sorry for the trouble you took to learn them. For knowledge is worth more than anything there is in the world. It's what makes great men and good men. You'll be a great man and a good man yourself some day, Thomas, and then you'll look back and say, it's all owing to the precious Sunday school privilege of my boyhood. It's all owing to my dear teachers that taught me to learn. It's all owing to the good superintendent who encouraged me and watched over me and gave me a beautiful Bible, a splendid, elegant Bible to read and have it all for my own, always. It's all owing to right bringing up. That is what you will say, Thomas, and you wouldn't take any money for those 2,000 bars. No, indeed you wouldn't. And now you wouldn't mind telling me and this lady some of the things you've learned, no? I know you wouldn't, for we are proud of little boys that learn. No, no doubt you know the names of all the 12 disciplines. When you tell us the names of the first two that were appointed. Tom was tugging at a buttonhole and looking sheepish. He blushed now, and his edges fell. Mr. Walters, her son within him, he said to himself, it is now possible that the boy can answer the simplest questions. Why did the judge ask him? Yet he felt obligated to speak up and say, "Answer the gentleman. Thomas, don't be afraid. Don't steal unfair." "No, I know you'll tell me," said the lady. "The names of the first two disciples were David and Goliath. Let us run the curtain of charity over the rest of the lesson."
Chapter 5. About 10:30, the grand bell of the small church began to ring, and presently the people began to gather for the morning sermon. The Sunday school children distributed themselves about the house and occupied peace with their parents, so, so as to be under supervision. Aunt Polly came, and Tom and Sid and Mary sat with her, Tom being placed next the in order that he might be as far away from the open window and the slope of summer scene as possible. The crowd filled up the islet. The aged and kneeling postmaster, who had seen bitter days, the mayor and his wife, for they had mayor there among those unnecessaries, the justice of the peace, the widow Douglas, fair, smart, and for a generous, good-hearted soul and well-to-do, her Hill mansion, the only palace in the town, and the most hospitable and much the most lavish in the matter of festivities, and St. Petersburg could boast. The Ben and Vernon mayor and Miss Ward Lavia Riverson, the new notable from a distance, next to the bill of the village, followed by a troop of lamb-clad and ribbon-decked young-haired burghers. Then all the young clerks in the town in a body, for they had stood in the vestibule sucking their cane heads a certain wad of oil and snipping at mirrors, till the last finger and round the gauntlet, and laughable came the model boy, William Offerson, taking as heedful care of his mother as if she were godless. He always brought his mother to church, and was the private father matrons. The boys had hated him, he was so good, and besides he had been thrown up to them so much. The white handkerchief was hanging over his pocket behind, and usually unfounded. Accidentally, Tom had no handkerchief, and he looked up a boy who, who had a snoops. The congregation being fully assembled, now the word rang once more, the warm bangers and slaggers. And then a solemn hush fell upon the church, which was only broken by the tittering and whispering of the children in the gallery. The church was tittered and whispered all through service. There was once a church choir that was not inbred, but I have forgotten where it was. Now it was a great many years ago, and I can scarcely remember anything about it. But I think it was in some foreign country. The minister gave me out the hymn, and I read it through with a relish in a vigorous style, and was much admired in that part of the country. His voice began on a medium key and gleamed steadily up till it reached a certain point, where it bore with strong emphasis upon the topmost word and then plucked down as if a springboard. Shall I be carried to the skies or from the beds of ease? Which other fight would win the prize at the night of Odyssey? He was regarded as a wonderful reader. At church sociables he was always called upon to read poetry, and when he was through the ladies would lift up their hands and let them fall helplessly in their laps, and walk around and shake their heads as much to say words cannot express it. It is so beautiful, too beautiful for this mortal earth. After the hymn had been sung, read Mr. Spence turned himself into bulletin board, and read of notices of meetings and societies and things that detailed the list would stretch out to the crack of doom. A queer custom which is kept up in America, even in cities away here, is the age of another newspapers. Often believe this is to justify a traditional custom, the harder it is to get rid of it. And now the minister prayed. A good generous prayer it was, and when in the day I played for the church, and the little children of the church for the churches of the village, for the village itself, for the country, for the state officer, for the United States, for the Church of the United States, for Congress, for the President, for the officers of the government, for poor sailors, toast to stormy seas, for the press minutes running under the heel of European monarchies and Oriental despotism, for chooses high of the light and the good dealings, and yet I have not eyes to see, not ears of hear without. For the hidden in the far islands of the sea, and close with its supplication that the word she was about to speak might find grace and favor, and be a seed sown in fertile ground, yielding in time a great harvest of good. Amen. There was a roosting of verses, and the standing congregation sat down. The boy whose history this book relates did not enjoy the prayer, he only endured it. If he did that much, he was rested after it. He played only the taste of the prayer, unconsciously, for he was not listening. But he knew the ground of the old, that he was clearing a regular road over it, and when a little river of three matters was interrelated, his hair detected it and his whole nature resented it. He considered conditions of air and security in the midst of the prayer of flight and the lick of the back of the pew in front of him, and tortured his spirit by calmly rubbing its hands together, and bracing his head with its arms and polishing its furiously that it shames to almost part company with the body, and the slender thread of a neck was exposed to view, scraping its wings with its hind legs and smoothing them to his body as if they had been coated going through his whole toilet and tranquility, as if he knew it was perfectly safe, as indeed it was, for as surely as Tom's hand itched to grab it, for it did not dare. He believed his soul would be instantly destroyed if he did such a thing while the prayer was going on. But with the closing sentence his hand began to curve and steal forward, and the instant the man was on the fly was prisoner of war. His sound detected the act and made him let it go. The minister gave out his text and droned aloud monotonously through an argument that was so prosy that many ahead by and by began to nod, and yet it was an argument that dealt with limitless fire and brimstone, and then the Protestant elect down to a company so small as to be hardly worth the saving. Tom counted the pages of the sermon. After church he always knew how many pages there had been, but he seldom knew anything else about the discourse. However, this time he was really interested for a little while. The minister made a grand and moving picture of the assembly together of the world's host at the millennium, when the lion and the lamb should lie down together and the little child should lead them. But the pathos, the lesson, the moral of the great spectacle were lost upon the boy. He only thought of the conspicuousness of the principal character before the unlucky nations. His failing with the thought, and he said to himself that he wished he could be that child if he was tame lion. Now he lapsed into suffering again as the dry argument was frozen. Presently he beheld him as of a treasure he had and got it down. It was large black beetle with four-bladed jaws, a pinchwood he called it. It was in a percussion cap box. The first thing the beetle did was to take him by the finger, a natural feeling followed the wedding went folded in an island of lead in its back. Then the hurt finger went into the boy's palm. The beetle lay and then was working its helpless legs, unable to turn over. Tom eyed it, and longed for it. Other people uninterested in the sermon found relief in the film, and they eyed for it too. Presently a vagant bulldog came eating along, sat at her, lazy with the super sofa and the guide, pursuit of capacity, sign of change. He spied the beetle, the dropping tail lifted and waved. The king surveyed the prize, walked around it, smelled it at a safe distance, walked around it, grew bolder, and took a closer smell. They lifted his lid and made the grinding snatch on it, just missing it, made another and another, beginning to enjoy the diversion, substituted to his stomach with the ability between his paws and continued his experiments. Grew weary at last, and then identified an upset memory. His head nodded, and little by little his chin descended and touched the enemy, who seized it. There was a sharp yell at Phil's bullet head, and the beetle fell a couple of yards away, and lifted his back once more. The neighboring spectators shouted with a lady in wild joy. Several faces went behind fights and handkerchief, and Tom was entirely happy. The dog looked foolish, and probably felt so, but there was less in his heart too, and a craving of his revenge. So he went to the beetle and began a war attack of it again, jumping at it from every point of the circle, lighting with his four paws within an inch of the creature, making even closer snatches at it with his teeth, and jerking his head till his hair flapped again, but he grew tired once more. After a while tried to sum himself with the fight but found temporary relief, followed an ant around with his nose close to the floor and really wearied of that, yawned, sighed, forgot the puzzle entirely, and sat down on it. Then there was this wild leap of agony that the public went slowly off the island. The yells continued, and so did the dog. He crossed the house in front of the altar. He flew down the other side. He crossed before the door. He climbed off the home stretch by antique Greek in his progress. Till he presented he was but a wily comet moving in his orbit, but the gleam and the speed of light. At last the frantic suffered the sheer of his course, and ran into his mother's lap. He flung it to the window, and the voice distressingly died away and died in the distance. By this time the whole church was red faces and suffocating with surface laughter, and the sermon had come to a dead standstill. The discourse was resumed presently, but it was lame and had led all possibilities of impressive and being at an end, for even the greatest sentinels were constantly being received with a snooded bush and uncomely mirth. Under cover of some remote bivouac, as if the poor parson had said a rarely faced thing. It was either relief to the whole congregation when the ordeal was over and the benediction pronounced. Tom Sawyer went home quite cheerful, thinking to himself that there was some satisfaction about it being service. When there was a bit of variety in it, he was but one more intruder. He was willing that the dog should play the good principle, but he did not think it was right to him to carry it off.
Monday morning found Tom Sawyer miserable. Monday morning always found him so because it began another week. Slow suffering in school. He generally began that day with wishing he had no intervening holiday. It make the going into captivity and fiddlers again so much more odious. Tom lay thinking. Presently it occurred to him that he wished he was sick. Then he could stay home from the school. He was a big possibility. He canvassed his system. No ailment was found, and he investigated again. This time he could detect colic symptoms, and he began to encourage them with considerable hope. But they saw green, feebly, and presently dead, wholly away. He reflected further. Suddenly, he discovered sometime one of his upper front teeth was loose. This was lucky. He was about to begin to grow as a starter, as he called it, when it occurred to him that if he came into court with that argument, his aunt would pull it all, and that would. So he thought he could hold the third in reserve for the present and seek further. Nothing offered for some little time, and then he remembered hearing the doctor tell about a certain thinking that light up and buried for 2 or 3 weeks, threatened to make him lose a finger. So the boy, a girly dream his score toy from under the shed, held it up the inspection, but no, he did not know the necessary symptoms. However, it seemed well worthwhile to change it, so he fell to groaning with considerable spirit. But Sid slept unconscious. Tom groaned louder and fancied that he began to feel pain in the toy. No result from Sid. Tom was panting with his exertions by this time. He took a vest and then swallowed himself up and fetched a succession of admirable groans. Sid snored. Tom was aggravated. He sighed, "Sid, Sid," and shook him. This worked well, and Tom began to groan again. Sid yawned, stretched, then brought himself up on his elbow with a snort and began to stare at Tom. Tom went on groaning. Sid sighed. Tom, sigh, Tom. No response. Here, Tom, Tom. What is the matter, Tom? And he shook him and looked in his face anxiously. Tom moaned out, "Oh, don't sit. Don't you let me." "Why? What's the matter, Tom?" "I must call Auntie." "No, never mind. It'll be over by and by. Maybe don't call anybody." "But it must. Don't groan so, Tom. It's awful. How long you been this way?" Or, ouch. "Oh, don't stir so, Sid. You'll kill me." "Tom, why didn't you wake me sooner?" "Oh, Tom, don't." It made my flesh clamor to hear you. "Tom, what is the matter?" "Oh, for hype, you evening," said Grom. "Everything you win ever done to me when I'm gone." Oh, Tom, you ain't dying, are you? Don't, Tom, oh, don't I be. I forgot and everybody said, tell so sit, sit behind my window sash and my cat with on a to, to that gear that come to Tom tell her but sit had snatched his clothes and gone. Tom was suffering in vain now, so handsomely was his imagination working, and so his ground had gathered yet a genuine tone. Flim, don't stay and say, oh, out Polly come. Tom's dying. Dying? Yes, don't wait. Come get. Wait. I don't believe it. But she fled upstairs, nevertheless, with Sid and Mary at her heels, and her face growing white too, and her lips trembled. When she reached the bedside, she grabs bed out. You don't. What's the matter with you? Oh, Auntie, I am. What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you, child? Oh, Auntie, my sore toy more difficult. The old lady sank down into a chair and laughed a little, then cried a little, then did both together. This restored here, and she said, Tom, what's a turn you did hide me? Now you shut up that nonsense and climb out of this. The groans sensei and the pine vanished from the door. The boy felt a little foolish, and he said, Aunt Polly, it seemed mortified, and it won't so. I never minded my thought at all. Your thought? Indeed. What's the matter with you, though? One of things loose, and it aged perfectly awful. There. Now, don't begin that warning again. Open your mouth. Well, you thought it's loose, but you're nothing going to do about that. Mary, get me a slake. They're red and chunk of fire out of the chicken. Downside. Oh, please, Auntie, don't pull it off. It don't hurt anymore. I wish I may never steer if it does. Please don't, Auntie. I don't want to stay home from school. Oh, you don't you? So all this woe was because you're wrong. You get to stay home from school as go a fishing. Tom, Tom, I love you so, and you seem to try every way you can to break my old heart with you ultra journeys. While this time the dental instrument were ready, the old lady made one end of the slide that read fast to Tom stopped with a love and tear the other of the pit post. Then she seeks to chunk of fire and slowly thrown it almost into the boy face. The thought hung dangling by the pit post. Now, but all trial bring their compassion, and Tom went to school after breakfast. He was the envy of every boy he met because the grab in his upper room of did enable him to spectre in a neat and admirable way. He gathered inquiet a following of light interest in the exhibition, and one that had cut his finger, and he began a center of fascination, and whom he up to this time now found himself steadily without an adherent and sure of his glory. His heart was heavy, and he sighed with disdain, which he did not feel in it. Wasn't anything to speak like Tom Sawyer, but another voice so great, and he wanted always dismantled here. Shortly, Tom came up the juvenile period of the village. Humber thing of the Tom Trump card. Humber thing was cordial hated of Rimmel by all the mother of the Tom because he was idle and sloveless and vague and bad. Because all their children admired him. So, delighted in this forbidden society, and wished therein to be like him. Tom was like the rest of the responsibility, but in that he envied Huntberry his ugly outcast condition, was under strict order on to play with him. So he played with him every time he got a chance. Hurberry was always dressed in the cast of clothes of full grown me. There he was in perennial bloom and fluttering with rage. He, he had was a pathway with a white crescent lopped out of his brain. His coat, when he wore hung nearly to his head and had very white buttons for down the back. But one Spencer supported his throne set. The sea of the throne set packed low and contained nothing. The freaked leg hanged in the dirt when no roll up. Humphrey came and went at his own free will. He slept and door steps and fine waiting and in empty hog had him went. He did not have to go to school or to church. Or call any being mastery of obey anymore. He could go fishing or swimming and wear clothes and stay or long as it suited him. Nobody forbade him to fight. He could sit as late as he pleased. He was always the first boy that went barefoot in the spring and the last to swim later in the fall. He never has to wash nor put on clean clothes. He was very wonderful in a want everything the goes to make life precious the boy had. So strong every Harald said, I am best respected boy in St. Petersburg. Don't highlight the romantic case. Hello, Humphrey. Hello yourself. And see how you like it. What's that you got? That cat. Let me see him cook. His pretty sleeve. Where you get I'm bought him off a boy. What did you guy? Guy a blue ticket and a plate to that I got and the slugger house. Where did you get the blue ticket? But it often been voyaged 2 weeks ago. The hope stick. Say, what is that gas got you hung? God for good squad. No, is that so? I know sometime. What's better? I bet you don't. What is it? Why? Spoon water. Spoon water? I won't have a drink for spoon water. You won't, won't you? Don't you ever try it? No, I find it not. But both Tanner did that. Will told you so. Why, he told Jeff Thatcher, and Jeff told Johnny Baker, and Johnny told him Hollins, and him told Ben Rogers, and Ben told Nigger, and the nigger told me. There now. Well, what's it of it? The alien. That's the way I'll put the nigger down him. But I never seen nigger the will not live. Sure, now you tell me how both Tanner done it. How? Why the thought and tripped his head it rotted stoop where the drain water was. The dial time, certain. With his fate of the stoop, yeah. Slate in wet cold. Did you hear anything? I don't reckon he died. I don't know. Talk about trying to course quant with spoke water such a playful way as that. Why that I'm going to done any good. You got to go all by yourself to the middle of the world. There you know there's a spunk water storm and just as it might nine. You back up again the stoop of jam your hand in aside. Paddle core, in you smell short. Spoon water. Thirsty words. And the wild way yet. 11 steps in your age shoot, and then you turn around third time and walk home without sparking to anybody because it you spend to share boosted. Well, so like a good way, but that ain't the way Bob Tanner done. No, sir. Can bet it did know. Because he's the warrior's boy in this town, and he won't have a word on him if he'd know how the works book water. I talk of thousands of one of my hand that way. I play with frog so much that I'd always go consider many water. Sometimes I take off with a pin. Yes, pins got. I done it. Have you watched your way? You take and split the beam and you take what so they get some blood. Um, then you put the blood on one piece of the beam take and dig a hole and bury it. Poke midnight at the crossroad in the dark of the moon until you punch up the rest of the beam. You see that piece, that's good. The blood of it will keep drumming and drumming, trying to fetch the other piece to it, and so that helps the blood to drown the water, and pretty soon off she comes. Yes, that is hook. That's it. Drawn when you're putting it in your side drum piano of one consumer to Potterman. It's better. That is the way Joe Harper does, and he's been nearly to convince in most every quarter. But sign, how do you could end with that gate? Will you take your cat and go to get in the graveyard long about middle when sometime that was quizzed being warrior and when it's middle of devil will come or maybe two or three but you can see and you can only hit sometime with like the wind or maybe hair in talk and when they are taking the fear always you have your cat after outside devil follow course cat follow devil cat follow cat I don't with he that's fits anywhere.
Will come, or maybe two or three, but you can't see them. You can only hear something like the wind, or maybe hear talk. And when they're touching the feather away, you have your thought after and say, they will follow culture. Cat follow devil, words follow cat, and done with the Delphi any word. Sounds like that you ever try it. Hoot. No, but all mother Hopkins taught me. Well, I thought it's true. Then, because they say she's a witch. Say, right, Tom? I know she's. She witches pap. Pap says to his own self. He come along one day and he see she was witching him. So he took up a root and if she hadn't dodged, hit a good her. Well, that very night he rolled open a sheet where he was lying drunk and brought his arm. Why, that's awful. How did he know she was watching him? Lord, Pap can tell, Aisy. Pap says when they keep looking at you right steady, they're watching you, especially if they mumble be- because when they number they're saying the Lord Prayer Batters. Say, quickly, when you going to try that? Tonight, I return there, long after all House Williams tonight. But they buried him Saturday. Didn't they get him Saturday night? Why, how you thought? How could their charge work till my night? And then it's Sunday. Devils don't slouch around much of a Sunday. I don't return. I never thought of that. That's so. Lingu go with you. Of course, if you ain't after after the taint lately. Will you mew? Yes, and you mew back if you get a chance. Last time you let me mewing around till all eyes went to throwing rocks at me and says there the cat. And so I hope a breath down through his window. Put down you tell. I won't. I told them you that night because Auntie was watching me. But I'll mew this time. Say, what's that? Nothing but a tick. Where you get him? Out in the woods. What you take for him? I don't know. I don't want to see him. Alright. It's a mighty small tick any away. Oh, anybody can run a tick down that don't belong to them. And satisfied with it. It's a good enough tick for me. So, there's tick aplenty. I could have a dozen of 'em if I want to. Well, why don't you? Because you know Minty well you can't. This is a pretty early tit. I reckon it's the first one I've seen this year. Say, Hoot, I'll get you my tooth for him. Let's see it. Don't good out a bit of paper and careful unroll it. Hoot levelly. You with it wishfully. The temptation was very strong. At last he said, "It is." He knew wine. Tom lifted his lip and showed the vacancy. "Well, all right," said Hood levelly. "It's a trade."
Tom enclosed the tick in the percussion cap box that had lately been the pinch box bracelet, and the boys separated, each feeling wilder than before. When Tom reached the little isolated frame schoolhouse, he strode in briskly with the manner of one who had come with all honest speed. He hung his hat on a peg and flung himself into seat with business-like alacrity. The master throned on high in his great splint-bottom armchair was dazzled by the drowsy hum of study. The interruption roused him. "Thomas Sawyer!" Tom knew when his name was pronounced in a full it meant trouble. "Sir, come up here. Now, sir, why are you late again, as usual?" Tom was about to take refuge in a lie when he saw two long tails of yellow hair hanging down a back that he recognized by the electric sympathy of love, and by that for was the only vacant place on the girl's side of the schoolhouse. He instantly said, "I stopped to talk with Huckleberry Finn." The master's bull stood still, and he stared helplessly. The buzz of study ceased. The pupils wondered if this foolhardy boy had lost his mind. The master said, You did what?" "Stopped to talk with Huckleberry Finn." There was no mistaking the words. "Tom Sawyer, this is the most astounding confession I ever listened to. The mere fellow will answer for his offense. Take off your jacket." The master arm performed until it was tired, and the stock of switches notably diminished. Then the order followed. "Now, sir, go and sit with the girls, and let this be a warning to you." The titter that rippled around the room appeared to abash the boy, but in reality that result was caused rather more by his worshipful awe of his now idol and the dread pleasure that lay in his high good fortune. He sat down upon the end of the pine bench, and the girl hitched herself away from him with the toes of her head, nudged and winked, and whispered traversed the room. But Tom sat still with arms upon a long log desk before him, and seemed to study his back. By and by attention ceased from him, and the accustomed school murmur rose upon the dull air once more. Presently the boy began to steal furtive glances at the girl. She observed it, made a mouth at him, and gave him the back of her head for the space of a minute. When she cautiously faced around again, a peach lay before her. She thrust it away. Tom gently put it back. She thrust it away again, but with less animosity. Tom patiently returned it to its place, then she let it remain. Tom scrawled on his slate, "Please take it, I got more." The girl glanced at the words but made him sink. Now the boy began to draw something on the slate, hitting his work with his left hand. For a time the girl refused to notice, but her human curiosity presently began to manifest itself by hardly perceptible signs. The boy worked on, apparently unconscious. The girl made a sort of non-committal attempt to see, but the boy did not betray that he was aware of it. At last she gave in, hesitatingly whispered, "Let me see it." Tom apparently uncovered a dismal caricature of a house with two gable ends to it, and corkscrew of smoke issuing from the chimney. Then the girl's interest began to fasten itself upon the work, and she forgot everything else. When it was finished, she guessed a moment, then whispered.
It's nice, make a man. The artist erected a man in 4th yard. That resembled a rig he could have stepped out of the house, but the girl was not hypocritical. She was satisfied with the monster and whispered, It's a beautiful man, now make me coming along. Some drink a half glass with a full moon and sharp limbs to it, while armed with spreading fingers with a dangerous fan. The girl said, It smells so nice, I wish I could drown. It's easy, whispered Tom, I learn you. Oh, will you when? At noon. Do you go home to dinner? I'll see if you will. Good. That's a what? What's your name? Peggy Thatcher. What's yours? Oh, I know. It's Thomas Sawyer. That's the name they leave me by. I'm Tom when I'm good. You call me Tom, would you? Yes. Now Tom began to throw something on the slate, hitting the words from the girl. But she was not back there this time. She begged to see. Tom said, Oh, it ain't anything. Yes, it is. No, it ain't. You don't want to see. Yes, I do. Indeed, I do. Please let me. You'll tell. No, I won't. Did and did and double did now. Did won't. You won't tell anyone at all, even as long as you live? No, I won't ever tell anybody, no let me. Oh, you don't want to see. Now that you dream, I will see, and she put her small hand on Punky's heel, and seemed sure and sweet. Tom proceeded to resist in earnest, but letting his hand slip by degrees till the last words were revealed, I love you. Oh, you bad thing, and she hid his hand as one wrap, retain a look, pleased nevertheless. With this gesture, the boy felt a slow, furry grip loosening his ear, and the silly feeling impulse in that wise, he was borne across the house and deposited in his own seat, while the remembering fire of giggles from the whole school. Then the master stood over him during a few awful moments, and finally moved away to his throne without saying a word. When Alpha Tom heard anything, his hair was jubilant. As the school gated down, Tom made that honest effort to study, but the talking with him was too great. And so he took his place in the reading class and made a bunch of it. Then did the geography class and turned lakes into mountains, mountains into rivers, and rivers into continents. Then Charles was come again. Then in the spelling class and got turned on by the success of mere baby words. Then he got up at the foot and yelled by paper metal, which he with touched for months.